Alright guys, today we're going to talk about building a frame for your fiberglass mold. How to do it and why it's important. Let's go ahead and get started. So frames are pretty important for your fiberglass molds if you plan on reproducing some parts. This is going to be a hood for a project I just purchased recently. And I do plan on selling them when I'm done with it. So it's important that we have the fiberglass mold braced. You can always just continue to lay more fiberglass, which might honestly be the cheaper option when you look at the prices of lumber today. But I think that having a wood frame molded to the hood is going to provide some support, prevent sagging, because even with 8 layers of fiberglass, this thing still will bow. Obviously, if I were to put a part in there and pull it with a mold that's bowing, it wouldn't fit true. So that's why we're going to do a frame. And I'm going to show you a super easy way to deal with all the complex curves and measure it and get it cut out on your jigsaw, which is about $80 at Home Depot. All right, so super easy. We're gonna go ahead and just prop this up kind of a little bit. I don't know if this is gonna work. Perfect. What we're gonna do is find the largest gap in this area. I'll let you see what that looks like. We'll measure it. Then I'm going to come over to a spare piece of lumber, measure that out, and then notch in the wood a little space for your pencil. And then what you can do is set that up and then run up to get an accurate general cut of what you need that to look like. Obviously there's not all these, this is just, you know, it bouncing. So with that drawn out, it's literally just quick work with a jigsaw, running it down, and then doing some final trimming to get a pretty good fit on the mold. It doesn't have to be perfect. What we're gonna do is actually lay some thickened resin in as kind of like a body filler and glue to hold it in. And then we're gonna fiberglass over it. We're gonna glass it into the mold. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock out that frame super quick, and then we're gonna go ahead and get our thickened resin ready, and I'll show you how we'll lay it out and get it all bonded up. As you can see, my masterpiece. I am not a carpenter. I don't know what I should have done to measure that better, but I just tossed in some metal L brackets, screwed it in. It's fairly well braced. I've gone ahead and come over here and marked the mold where the boards were. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw some thickened resin in that, let it sit for a minute, and then we'll toss the frame on, throw on some more so we create a nice fillet between the lumber and our mold. Let's go ahead and get that ready. Okay, let's talk about making our thickened resin for our glue and to create the fillets. I don't know what it actually is. To make the radius on the wood that we're going to mount to this mold. You really need a couple things. You want a polyester resin. You can use a vinyl ester for less shrinkage, but this stuff's pretty cheap. You want to make sure it's warm because I'm in a cold garage. Everything will settle to the bottom, so make sure that you give it a good shake before you actually mix it all up. Otherwise, you won't have enough chemical to properly bind to anything. Obviously, mixing jug, we have our silica. We have milled fibers that we're going to use. This is going to reinforce the resin so that it's stronger than just plain resin if we were to lay it down. Ziploc bag, we're going to use this as like a, you know, like you're doing a cake to fill it out with the thickened epoxy, because it's not something that you can just brush on. These are the wrong ones to get. Don't get the ones that stand when they're filled up. They're a pain in the butt. You're gonna need a mixing stick. What I like to do is take sandpaper and grind this down so that I can get that nice beveled edge. I'm gonna use this to scrape along the wood in order to create the fillet. And then most importantly, make sure you wear your PPE. This stuff is super toxic. Once I actually get the resin mixed up, I will probably just have to do either voiceover or maybe just captions. We'll just write it through post, because the stuff's super toxic. It's horrible for my lungs. I can't breathe the second I start smelling any of it. So on that note, let's go ahead and get it all mixed up and laid down. We're gonna need quite a bit of this stuff. So I think I'm actually gonna mix up a full quart of the resin. Once you add the thickening agents, it will double the volume. So I think that should be enough. It may not be, but we can always make it work. So let's go ahead and shake it and make it. All right, now that we've got that poured, we're gonna go ahead and toss on our PPE, or AKA our respirator, which probably needs to be changed. So, all right. Now we're gonna get the resin ready by adding our MEKP. This calls for 10 cc's per quart. So that's what we're mixing up here. Pour it up, go ahead and mix it. Nice and thorough. Start adding our woven fibers until we get to a desired consistency. I'm unsure if you can add too much of that stuff, but here I've added the silica. Now it's thickening up to a peanut butter-like consistency. Throwing it in the bag. We're gonna use a box cutter to open it up and use it like a cake icing spreader.
We're gonna lay it across these lines that I've laid down for the mold.
This will allow us to add a type of glue for the frame. Here we are throwing the frame on. We're just gonna line it up, obviously on the lines that we put it. That should seal it pretty good.
Now we're going to use our fancy little tool to try to get that all beveled out. Huh? What do you think? That's pretty cool, huh? See, you get a nice little edge there. We're going to do that all around.
We're going to let it gel up, and once it's gotten to a semi-tacky state, we will begin adding fiberglass just like you normally would. Lay down a base coat of resin, toss our fiberglass mat on top of it, and then wet it out. All right, our fiberglass mold now has it framed. We've glassed it in, done the final layer with our wax additive to make sure that it actually cures. We will let it sit like this for probably a week, week and a half. We want to make sure that it fully cures so that it doesn't face any shrinkage, you know, like the hood skin. So as you can see, the mass of the body filler and the sandpaper, I am starting my mold for my Nismo bumper. I've repaired all the issues with it, all the holes, sealed up the Nissan symbol and those little dashes. And the next video I'll show you how to prep this to get a mirror finish so that you can pull a mold that you can lay carbon fiber or Kevlar into, which is my plan, because now you have something almost as indestructible as the KBD bumpers, but like carbon fiber weight. So nothing. Very excited for that. So see you guys next time.